So talk about that day when you got that call that no mother ever wants to get.
It was horrific. It was a day that should have been, it started off as a day of celebration because my sister's second oldest son was getting married. So we were celebrating. We were having a great day. Um, it was just a day of family and celebration. And I was just thinking, I said, the only two people that are here are Jalen and my grandson. And later on that evening, we ended up at my nephew's home and everybody was celebrating. We were still celebrating, but I was exhausted. So I was getting ready to go home. And I told everybody, I said my goodbyes. And I got in my car and I was heading home. And as I got about a mile away from my nephew's home, I saw a Connecticut phone number. And initially I thought it was Jalen, but it turned out to be someone else. And and they said, hello, how are you doing? And I said, I'm okay. And she said, um, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going home. I said, my nephew just got married. And I said, I'm headed home. I'm tired. And she said, did anybody call you? And I said, did anybody call me? And she said, yeah. And I said, why would somebody call me? She said, because Jalen died today. That's how I got the call. She said, Jalen died today. I said, you're kidding. I said, that's not true. I said, my son is not dead and nobody told me he was dead. You can't be serious. She said, yes. I hung up the phone. I made this crazy U-turn in the middle of the street and I was driving to back to my nephew's house and felt like I was flying. I was driving and it just felt like I was floating on air trying to get back to my family so they could support me with what I just heard. So I get to my nephew's house and I'm laying on my horn and I'm blowing my horn. And there are people standing outside, there are people in the house, there are people on the deck, there are people everywhere. And I'm blowing my horn and I jumped out of my car and I said, they said that he's dead. They said that he's dead. And they said, who, Nanny? Who did they say is dead? I said, they said Jalen is dead. And I collapsed on the ground. I collapsed on the ground. That was horrific. Till this day, I still can't drive over there to my nephew's house. 8 years and I still can't go over there. So at that point, my late brother, who's no longer here, one of my late nephews, who's no longer here, they all picked me up. Another nephew that lives in Vermont picked me up and carried me in the house. And people were just panicking. Everybody started getting on their phone, trying to find out what was going on. And I was in shock. I couldn't believe that somebody called me to tell me my child was dead, and nobody from the facility called me to tell me that my child was dead.
Wow.
Nobody from Garner called me to tell me that. Someone else called me. That was a horrible day. That was a horrible, and I played that day back and forth in my head a lot of times because there's still no justice for Jalen.
Mm-hmm.
People are still silent. And I have written a statement, Miss Fair, that I'd like to read,
Sure, go ahead.
if you allow me to read it. To the state of Connecticut, Department of Corrections, Governor Lamont, Attorney General Tong, Democrats, Republicans, and all others. My name is Jessica Jones. I'm Jalen Jones's mother. The release of the video showing my son's death was horrific. As a mother, I needed to see what happened to my child. It was absolutely disgusting what was done to him. First of all, seeing him stripped naked, handcuffed, shackled, pepper sprayed, punched, beaten, a bag placed over his head, showed no sign of dignity or care for his human life, any life at all. It took my breath away. After an 8-year fight to get this video released, after redactions, of course, by the state, there is still silence. I literally watched my son be beaten to death and take his last breath. Watching that 52-minute video of Jalen being killed took me back to that day, March 25th, 2018, when I received the call. It was like a second death. Seeing him naked on a bed with as many as 8 guards surrounding him or on top of him left me heartbroken as well as angry. Not only did you withhold aid to him for over 7 minutes, but you also kept him shackled and handcuffed while he was obviously dead, and you so-called provided life-saving measures. That was merely for the cameras. Seeing my child in a wheelchair, dead, with a bag over his head, naked and bleeding from his mouth, was heartbreaking. For there not to be anyone held accountable or charged with his murder is an absolute injustice. For 8 years, you tortured my family by withholding this video and continue to do so by thinking it will just go away. It won't. I won't. I need justice for my child. His life mattered. Jalen comes from a good family. Jalen was a great son, a good guy, smart, handsome, a father, a nephew, a cousin, a grandson, a friend, and so many other good things. He was a man of faith. He loved God, and everyone knew it, as is evident in the video. He was not some homeless schizophrenic, as was painted out to be in early reports. He had a family. He made some bad decisions, which led him to be incarcerated at Garner, but he was there to serve his time and not to be murdered. He wasn't some career criminal. He had dreams and hopes of a future upon his release from Garner. I was so looking forward to that day. And so was he, and everyone he loved and loved him. State of Connecticut, you took that away. I'm now part of a club I never thought I would be in. Another Black mother whose son was killed at the hands of someone who swore to uphold the law. Garner needs to be investigated thoroughly, and procedures need to be changed. There needs to be some type of reform regarding guards who interact with inmates who are having some type of mental crisis and know how to handle each situation without someone losing their life. Also, the cover-up. The cover-up was so great, it's mind-blowing. If you had nothing to hide, why 8 years? Why? I'll tell you why. Because you know 8 guards killed and murdered my child, and you covered it up. Shame on you. How do you sleep at night? How did you sleep that night, March 25th, 2018? You go on with your lives, collecting your pensions, retiring, and business as usual. As for me, my only child was taken from me on that day, March 25th, 2018, and I grieve him every day. Attorney General Tong, Governor Lamont, you deliberately decided to protect murderers and cover up the death of my son, rather than do the right thing and give a grieving mother justice for her child. There is no way to continue to defend the actions of these corrections officers and medical personnel. It is indefensible. The video says it all. I will not stop fighting until I get justice for Jalen. My grandson no longer has a father. Show some compassion and humanity and hold people accountable for what they did to him. He did not deserve this. His life still matters. I want to thank Ms. Barbara Fair, Stop Solidarity CT, who intentionally and was instrumental in pushing to get this video released, as well as my counsel, attorney Rob Murphy. I want justice, and I will not stop until I get it. You can make it a Black thing, you can make it a white thing, you can make it a political thing. How about make it a human thing and do the right thing? Jalen Renaud Jones mattered.
I believe if everybody in this room is here with you and holding you at this minute. I would like for Attorney Dave Barrett to come up and talk about his experience with this case and where he thinks we can go further. I'd also like to know at the end, what do you want us to do to get justice for your son? What can we do?
I want you to know that this picture behind me, that's me
Mr. Barrett? Thank you, Jessica.
Hi, Ms. Jones. I don't know what you could say after that. It's tough to buy into a society that doesn't think that this is something that should never happen. But here in Connecticut, as Ms. Jones said, our government does not behave right now as if anything happened, which suggests to us at the ACLU that there's a significant problem. It can't be the case that we live in a society in which our penal system kills people, A, and B, takes no responsibility for having done so if it happens. There's nothing, as far as I can tell, that would prevent a recurrence of this today. And there's certainly no change on the state's part indicating that it has any remorse or any intention to be responsible for Jay Allen's killing. At the ACLU, we think that there should be two big things happening here. Number one, a complete and total prevention of this ever occurring again. And number two, recompense on many levels. I think Ms. Jones is absolutely correct that it is stunning that the political firmament in Connecticut has said nothing about this at all. And in fact, Connecticut's official position on many different fronts is that the only person to bear the cost of Jay Allen Jones's death is Jay Allen Jones. That he did it, he's responsible for his own death. It's very hard for me to separate that from the racial terrorism that happened in the South, in which people were killed by vigilantes and the officialdom of the state encouraged it, applauded it. It's difficult for me to see a difference between those two things. One is slightly more buttoned down. One is done by lawyers, by politicians, by people wearing suits on paper, and another was a little more roughshod, but I don't see the difference. And so I think that in Connecticut, we need to have a serious conversation, as if we shouldn't have had it years ago, but now we really need to have it, about the ways in which we can prevent this from happening again, and we need to take responsibility collectively for the killing of Mr. Jones, which was done in our names. And it was done with our money, and it was done in a state facility by people who work for us, purportedly. I think there were 4 or 5 different failures that happened here, or that are still happening. The first is the complete lack of rules, although I agree with Barbara, who had a great quote that said something like, you can't put a Band-Aid on cancer, right? This isn't just like, oh, you need to see a couple of videos during training. I mean, it's pretty basic. You don't kill people. But think about workplace discipline. Think about the criminal law that comes down so hard on some of us and not hard at all on others. Think about civil justice, lawsuits like the one that Ms. Jones is currently prosecuting. And think about like professional discipline. How can you continue to earn your living as a CEO if this is what you did? Let's just talk about workplace. We have all worked somewhere. And if something significant happened at work one day, such as a person being killed, you can imagine that would be a show-stopping event. If I were running the show, I would want to know everything about it. Who was responsible? What went wrong? But if you dig in and read, I mean, I'm speaking, everybody knows the story. This is Stop Solitary. But if you read the documents, you won't see a serious attempt to figure out what happened here and to affix responsibility. You will see business as usual. There's a playbook for how this is done. My colleague, Joe Galen, who really could speak on this way better than I could, put it in a really good way the other day when he pointed out that what happened to Mr. Jones was just it was almost random chance. They do stuff like this all the time. They use this high level of violence all the time and this disregard for human life all the time. It just so happens that on the many occasions in which they almost killed somebody, on this occasion they did kill somebody. You take a system like that has no guardrails and it has no rules, it has no effective way of keeping employees from doing this again, and the results should not surprise us. We should talk about civil justice, lawsuits. Connecticut's official position on this today in court is that Mr. Jones alone is the person responsible for his death. Mr. Jones alone. No one else, not the state, not the CO, nobody. We can think of a world in which it is far easier to get recompense for a horrific act like this. It should not be hard for somebody who's severely injured or killed by the state in whatever setting to get recompense for what happened. But right now, the system is built on procedure and technicalities and 8 years of litigation to get to the point where a jury might decide something, and we still don't even know that because we're waiting for a summary judgment decision. Connecticut could give itself a comprehensive Civil Rights Act that would cut through all of this garbage and just get the person in front of a jury. Let's find out what a jury of our peers thinks about this. Because my guess is, if you see this video, it's going to be pretty tough to think that things went right and that this is what is supposed to happen in a civilized society. We should also talk a little bit about the criminal law. I am the last person who's going to tell you that I think more people should be prosecuted for crimes and sent to prison. And yet I can't help but think that there are a lot of people who have ended up on the sharp end of the criminal law who did not get the sort of consideration that the men whose hands were on J. Allen Jones did. In fact, if you dig into the state police's investigation of it, you'll see something really cool. I wish we could all have this. They went to get statements from the COs months later about what happened. And they were handed typed statements from the COs about what happened. I would love to do that. The next time I get pulled over or the next time I get questioned about a crime, I'm just going to have a pre-prepared statement that says I didn't do anything wrong, and the cop is just going to say, thanks, have a nice day. That was the ball game. I suspect that we all know people for whom that respect and that distance was not accorded. And it says a lot if you carefully read Steve Sedensky's press release explaining why he's not going to do his job. He had a really weird passive way of saying it. He said, according to him, the circumstances of J. Allen Jones' death were not criminal in nature. Were not criminal in nature. He wasn't talking about the acts of any particular person. He was talking about sort of the whole thing. It's deeply unusual, but it also shows you how the game is played. He drove to the prison and he talked to the management. And I'm guessing that they assured him everything was cool. And he said, that's great. The disparities jump out at me, particularly when you look at how the state typically treats people who may exhibit negligence towards protected or vulnerable people. I'm thinking of, if you read The Current, I'm in Southern Connecticut, but, up where my office is, we read The Current. So the state, up there in Windsor Locks, they arrested a couple of folks who work at a nursing home because a resident escaped. A resident with dementia escaped, got out into the cold, and she died, which is horrible. But the allegation against one of these people is that she looked into the room to check on this nursing home resident and didn't look carefully enough. That's it. That's what got her a criminal charge. Didn't look carefully enough. Because I don't know how you could say that Mr. Jones was not similarly sensitive. The only reason these people had their hands on him is because he was identified as he was having symptoms. He was so ill that they thought he needed to move to a different, restrictive housing unit. So right up front, when the state was dealing with this man, they knew that he had a disability. They knew he was ill, and they still treated him like that. It's staggering. There are many ways in which we could change the future of Connecticut. And at the ACLU, we're going to try to do that. We are also going to embark on a long campaign to try to get journalists other than our steadfast friend to pay attention to this. We were candidly floored when the whole story for most of the outlets in Connecticut was just that the video was released. That was it. Nothing about, I mean, yes, that's a big deal. It was a big fight to get the video released, and it's shameful and awful that the state, especially William Tong, fought so hard to hide it. And there's a lot more to the story. Yes, the hiding of the video was awful. And also, what's on the video? What is the government doing on the video? It's atrocious. We have a lot of ground to cover. These are all things that I'm sure you're well aware of. But at the ACLU, we're committed to continuing to try to get the people in power to care about Mr. Jones, to care about his death, to care about what happens, and to make sure that this does not happen again. If we let it happen again, then I think we know everything we need to know about our society.
Thank you. Hi. I want to know what ideas do you have about what we can do to make sure that Jay Allen's life is not just a horrible movie that we saw and it's over and we just move on business as usual.
I want the video to continue to be out there. I think it needs to be on a national platform because it has not been on any major news broadcasts, and people need to know what happened to my child inside of Garner on that day. So I think we need to continue to put that video out there and see what happens from there, because other people need to know. There are people that have seen it. A lot of people have seen it, but not enough to make a change.
And one of the things that was really, I guess, frustrating for me is that even though the video came out and so many people have seen it, we have legislators who are oversight over DOC. We have an ombudsman, of course, who's over DOC. He wasn't around at the time of this incident. But these are people who I expected to hear something from, what they felt about this video.
Absolutely.
And nothing. ACLU was the first one to put out a statement.
Yes.
And then there was a couple of Republicans who put out a statement they want to have a hearing. Of course, we know it's political season. But I question, where's the Democrats?
Yes.
The
Why are you silent?
supposed to be for us. Why have they not said a word?
Absolutely. Why are you silent? If it was so horrific, and it was, why are you silent? Why are you not speaking up it? Why are you not saying anything about this video?
And for me,
his family. He still has a family. He still has a family. He has a mother. He has a son. He has people who love him. He has people all over that are questioning what's next. What are they doing? They're still silent.
And that's what's remarkable to me, that there's nothing said after the video came out. And it was always strategic also in the way that they did it. They put it out on a Friday afternoon.
Absolutely.
They thought we'd get caught up in the weekend and by Monday it'd be all over.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering, has anyone from Department of Corrections reached out? Because, they were, put their political statement out. Oh, this is so horrible and our hearts go out. Did anyone ever reach out to you?
No one has ever reached out to me. Ever.
And that's telling in itself.
It absolutely is.
So one of the things that I really campaigned a lot around, I was campaigning around it before Jay Allen's death, but then when I realized what caused his death, why he didn't want to do what they asked him to do, that was really important for me to put an end to this strip searching.
Strip searching.
People say, well, he just shouldn't submit it. And I think some of those people need to know exactly what they asked him to do. What did he have to submit to?
Exactly.
Because when I read the report, they strip you down.
Yeah.
And in Garner, they add a little piece, get on your knees, bend up against the bed to look up your rectum,
Why?
how
That's
many people would have just admitted to that? To me, that's sexual assault.
it's sexual assault. It's violating someone, and it's inhumane to strip someone. Yes, to strip someone naked, and then to tell him to get on his knees. And what did he say?
That about.
He said, "I can't do it."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I can't do it."
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't fighting them. He wasn't fighting them. He said he couldn't do it.
Right.
There should have been other measures taken, to de-escalate the situation. They made the situation turn into whatever it was. They did that.
Because they were determined he was going to get on his knees like they
Yes.
wanted him to do and
Exactly.
degrade him even further.
Exactly.
And they were determined that was going to happen. Another thing that bothers me is that they're making this about schizophrenic episodes. Like that's what kills him. That's not what killed him. Schizophrenia didn't kill him.
Right.
It's the brutality of what they did to him that killed him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Jalen didn't have a history of schizophrenia growing up. He didn't. So I don't know where that came in later in his life. He didn't have a history of schizophrenia.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was another thing that I researched a lot about. And there's research out there, it's been out there for years, that more Black men will be diagnosed with schizophrenia. And it doesn't have to be schizophrenia. I mean, they did the same thing with my son, but I'm a clinical social worker. I know all about all those diagnoses. And I understood the history. So I know because someone's acting out of order when they're being treated in that manner, that's more like depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
And that's what most of these men should be actually diagnosed with. But they rather throw schizophrenia out here. Something people really don't know about it. It's so scary and they're so out of control, they don't even know what they're doing. Right. If they can throw that out there and convince us that this is what's wrong with these people, and really they convince so many people that,
I've seen it.
Their loved one has schizophrenia.
Yes, I've seen it.
I know better. I've had to fight it myself with my own son when they put that label on him. And he got out of there and went to the doctors, and they told me, no, that he's not schizophrenic. But that's what they do to so many men inside of prison. And then they fill you with those antipsychotics. So I think about the countless lives that they're destroying with their misdiagnosed, first of all, with the brutality, with their inhumane and degrading behavior, all of that. Think of how those people come out of those places. They come out broken.
Yes.
Is that what we want? Maybe that's the outcome.
Maybe so. Yeah. I don't know either. It's horrific. It's horrific. Yes. Yes.
So I would like to have, and I'm going to see if I can get some students that'll do the research for me. I want to see how many of those people inside, especially Black men, are diagnosed with schizophrenia, as opposed to what's really their problem.
Yes.
And that's depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, which is very common, the way they are being treated and the way they're being housed. That would be normal for them. That's not abnormal behavior. That's what would happen if you were put in a cage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the easy way out. That's the easiest thing to say, that they're having a schizophrenic breakdown.
Because when I read the report, it said that he hadn't slept that night or something. So the social worker asked that he go put in this unit where they can observe him. And in the statement, she said he was very calm. He agreed to go into the unit to be observed. And they said he did not act up.
He was calm. I watched the video.
Behind his back.
I watched the video.
In shackles.
Yes,
so
he was
calm.
calm.
No way for him to do nothing. And they said that is when they told him, get on your knees. He said, I can't do it. And people need to know that.
Yes, they do. Yes. And Jalen didn't have any other issues there. Why that particular day? I understand that he didn't sleep, but there should have been another way for them. Just let him stay in his cell and sleep it off or whatever. He never had any other issues the whole time he was at Garner. Never. Why that day? you decided to do what you did and take my child's life. It should have been another way. He should still be here.
Well, I thank you so much, really, for taking the time to come on. I know it's hard to, keep reliving that nightmare, but I thank you so much for coming in and talking with us.
Thank you, Ms. Fair. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all of your support and your hard work and all your efforts. And we will not stop fighting until we get justice for him. I guarantee you that we will not stop fighting. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you.
Sorry. Before I leave, I wanted to bring up another person who, like I mentioned before, works at ACLU. He just put out a brief around ending some of the strip searching that's going in with people who are actually having video visits. So why are you stripping people after a video visit? So, Mr. Joe Galen, can you come up and just speak a little bit to that? I'm just so excited that he's at ACLU because, like I said, he's truly, truly committed to this work. And he came right in fighting. And so I'm waiting to celebrate that this strip searching will actually end.
Yes.
No more baby steps, but end.
Yes. Yes.
Hey everyone, it's a pleasure to meet you as well. So let me start by, so the brief that Ms. Fair, Barb, Ms. Fair, that's a weird thing for me to say. The brief that Barb is talking about is really something that we at the ACLU filed in support of a lawsuit that we cannot take credit for at all. This is a lawsuit that Mr. Courtney Green, who is incarcerated at Carl Robinson, filed, challenging a strip search policy that was newly implemented by the DOC. And it was in response to, they decided to put video visits, I call them video calls because they're not really visits at all. They've been rebranded to be visits, but they put the video calls in the same room as in-person visitation. Fine, whatever. But then they decide because the video calls and the in-person visits are in the same room, everybody has to be strip searched. And it's not just a visual strip search, it's a body cavity search. So they really look at what's going on, as Barb already described, and they often do that in front of other people. It's not like a professional thing. And what happened to Mr. Green and what he is really trying to get justice for is that they did this search in front of other officers and also in front of other people in his housing unit. And they did it in a way that was pretty unsanitary. I won't go into the details further. You can read the brief if you would like. But the point here is that it is way too common in the legal system to see something like this and just say, that's a prison, we're going to defer to the quote-unquote expertise of prison officials. And unfortunately, I think it is so routine, and that mantra is so often just kind of pushed through courts that there are really bad decisions that we think do not make sense even legally. And so this brief, which is kind of long and technical, gets into a bunch of the legal errors that we think that the district court judge made. I think the more important point is that Mr. Green and a bunch of incarcerated folks are not okay with arbitrary strip search policies, and that the DOC feels like it can just promulgate these policies whenever it wants and there won't be pushback. I think we as lawyers can do our part and really call it out. We can write a brief, but we really rely on the work of all of you, the organizers, the advocates, and most importantly, the incarcerated people who bring these cases that then bring it to our attention so that we can continue to push. And we plan to do that. Of course.
Okay, I just want to look at what time it is. Okay, 7:40. I just wanted to say something Ms. Jones, to you. People have asked me why I got so involved in Jay Allen's case. And it was, I read the newspaper, someone had put an article out. There was 3 still frames to the article. And one of them was Jay Allen laying on the bed, naked, on his stomach, shackled, and all these guards were around him. And when I seen that, I was just sick. So as I read I got a copy of the whole internal investigation, and I read it, and they were saying exactly what Jay Allen said. I mean, what they said happened to Jay Allen, how he had to strip down and bend over and all that kind of stuff. And it brought me back to years ago, decades ago, really. My son was only 17 years old, and he was telling me that, he was stripped down, had to get on his knees, all that stuff. And I remember back then thinking, there's no, I can't do it. I'm sorry. But anyway, is she gone? Oh, shoot. I can't do anything about it. So continue. Yeah. Okay. I'll just end it with her right now. I can call her and tell her what happened. But since I started the story, and I just wanted to say why this meant so much to me, because when my son told me decades ago that this happened to him, I could not believe that they were treating people like that in prison. And so I know they had him on medication like they do all of them. And so I thought, that's got to be meds. There's no way in the world they're doing that to people. And so when I read the whole description of what happened with Jay Allen, it broke my heart, because I said, oh my God, so that really did happen to my son. And that started this fight that's never going to end for me, to know that they harmed my son in that way. And knowing people don't get over stuff like that. There's a lot of healing that has to happen. And what I find with a lot of people incarcerated, they get accustomed to this, what they do to them. They just take it in stride because they feel like they have nothing else to do. And they survive it. But what about the healing? And that's the part that has to happen in our community, a lot of healing. I think I'm going to have to end it here before I'll be in tears again. But I want to ask Pastor Lewis, I invited him to come into the space today, and I wish it hadn't went off, because I wanted him to say, oh, that's her calling me. I wanted him to say a community prayer for all of us, and I wanted Jessica to be here, but she's not. Hold on a minute. Pastor Lewis? Oh, you're on? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're here. So you can, I just finished up what I had to say, and I was getting ready to say that we have a Pastor Lewis here who's done a lot of work with us, and I had asked him to show up today so that he could do a community prayer while you were here. And so I'm glad you did call back so you could hear it, because like I just said, we do a lot of surviving this stuff, but we're not healing.
Thank you.
So would you please come up and give us a healing prayer to end in this part? And Jessica, what I do after that, so that we don't leave here with heavy hearts, we just get into having fun, bingo and stuff like that, so you'll know how we end. We don't want no one going home with a heavy heart. We want you to get the information, be knowledgeable, but we don't want you to go home with a heavy heart.
Thank you, Bob. Come on, can we just stand in this moment right now? God bless you, Miss Jones. I just didn't want to say anything, but because of this particular moment here, that we're addressing issues of families that have lost loved ones in this way, and the great work, Barbara, that you continue to do fearlessly, and with your team and everybody. We commend you. Can we just give Barbara a hand praise for her work? And I just need y'all to know she threatened me that I had to be. They know they tell the truth. No, but let us just pray. We come to you, Father, today now with brokenhearted for a family carrying a grief, families carrying grief that words cannot hold. They have lost a brother, a son, an uncle, a friend to violence and injustice inside walls that were supposed to keep them safe. Lord, you see what happened. You saw every moment. Nothing was hidden from your eyes. Psalms 34:18 declares, the Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of contrite spirit. Father, be near to the families right now that have lost loved ones behind those walls. Let them feel your nearness in the middle of their sorrow. We do not pretend this pain makes sense. It makes no sense. We do not rush past the anger, the questions that ache around injustice. Instead, we bring it all to you, because Psalms 10:14 says, thou hast seen it, for thou beholdest mischief and spite to requite it with thy hand. The poor committeth himself unto thee that are the helper of us all. Lord, we be the helper of these families, Miss Jones and all others that have suffered this atrocity behind the walls and the injustice that they had to face even today. Be their strength when they cannot stand. Be their comfort when the nights feel unbearable. We ask for your justice to move in your time, in your way, for truth to come to the light and accountability be made real. Father, hold the soul of their loved ones close to you. Revelations 21:14 promises, and God shall wipe away all the tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Though the loved one is gone, justice will prevail. We know that you are a God of justice. Let the promise be their hope today. You are near to the brokenhearted. You are present in the grief of the grieving. You are not distant from the cry of the oppressed. Wrap this family and the families in your peace, and the peace that passes all understanding. Give strength to us each and every day to fight for justice for those that cannot fight for themselves. Father, continue on to strengthen each and every one that said yes to this call, to this fight, to this stand. Continue on to protect their loved ones as they become the voice for the voiceless. Continue on to strengthen Stop Solitary Confinement and the mothers and the parents and the loved ones that support this movement. Continue on to bring the officials to the place where they have to hear and move swiftly to do what is right. We trust you, we honor you, and we lift you up in this place. Continue on to be the God of justice. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen.
Thank you. I didn't ask him to preach a sermon, but it's Pastor Lewis, so. But I will. Thank you so much, Jessica. Have a good one. Bye-bye. They all say they love you. Bye-bye. Okay, so we can just take a deep breath. I want to make sure people know the shirts and bags are up there for sale. Not for sale, they're free. I'm sorry. For you to take for souvenirs. Because I have said, I say it every year, but I have said I probably will be doing this another year. And so, don't say that. They're upstairs. So I just wanted to make sure that people have those for souvenirs so they're not left over when Stop Solitary actually closes its doors. But as everyone knows, this is my life. That department harmed my son very deeply, so I'm not going anywhere until I can't stand anymore. And so even though Stop Solitary organization may shut the doors, I'm still in this fight for life. So get your shirts, get your bags, and can someone turn the light on, please? Because I want to do our door prizes. Miss Holly, can you come down and facilitate that, please? We got door prizes, and then everyone knows the bingo people. We have bingo games after that. But we'll start with the door prizes. Get your tickets out. Oh, you have the tickets?